Welcome to this edition of Rollin' Sports. I'm Tyler Rollin. This is where you meet the athletes, and today have someone here that I'm very excited to introduce, and good to see him back on the football field for the Ironton Fighting Tigers. And singer Tayden Carpenter. Tayden, good to be here with you, and I'm sure you're ecstatic to be back on the field this year.
Yeah.
Talk about, you've overcome so much. Talk about, we'll start from last season. You played a few games in the season, but before that, you had an injury that held you back. Talk about that and before the season started and how you handled the situation.
So we went into the season, and it was like 3 weeks before practice, and I did something. I hit somebody and tweaked my hip a little bit, and so then we were trying to help that back before we played against Berg the first week, because I was trying to get back for that game. So then once we got to the first week, I thought I was healthy enough to play. I played against Berg. I took like a boot. I ran around the corner, and the corner took a shot and hit me straight in the hip. And it felt good at first, and then like 2 more plays later, it completely pulled again. And so I was running off the sideline, and then I nursed it back to health, but I was out for the first 4 games, and then did that. And then so we got to the overseas games. We played that. I played against them, and then my last game was against Portsmouth, and we played against them. It was like the 4th play, and I took a shot, and I went to big around. I didn't see anything, and then I fell down, and the guy fell on my back foot, and then my foot just completely popped out. So it was completely out of the socket.
Oh man, and I know that we caught up with you last year before one of your games, and I remember you were on a scooter going around. And when this first happened, what was going through your mind? Like, what was your mentality?
I mean, I just was like, God's got this and all that, because I mean, at the end of the day, whatever happens, it's all in His hands. And I mean, at the beginning, I was kind of like, man, like, why did this happen to me? Like, I felt like I did it. And then at the end, I was just like, okay, things happen to you all the time. I've seen people get hurt that do everything right in life. And I was just like, you got to get through it. But at the same time, it pushed me to be better, because I was hurting. I had to leave my team. It helped me become a better leader with my team by pushing them better, because you can't just be on the field and push your team. But being on the sideline, I was like, being hurt, I could help them. And I was like pushing each person and just making sure each person was their best self on the football field to be on the team. So.
Yes, and talk about your recovery process that started. I know you went through, I believe, a couple surgeries. Talk about what was done to repair the foot over the off season.
So I went to surgery, and I tore my list frank, and then I broke 3 metatarsals that was in my foot. So they did the surgery. They had to go in. They put a screw on the top that went down to control the list frank, and then they put 3 screws on the side to make sure my metatarsals were together. And so after that, I was in a boot for about 8 weeks, and it was non-stable. I couldn't even touch. So I was on the scooter during that whole football season. And then by the time we got done with the football season, we were going to basketball season. I was able to walk a little bit on it, but I was on crutches more, trying to not touch the ground as much. And then therapy every day. It was literally 3 days a week, intense hour and a half. And I mean, that helped me at big time, just pushing. And then I did that. So then after the 8 weeks, I had 4 weeks non-stable where I could walk a little bit, and after that, I was on a boot. I could walk fully, 100%. And then it was another 4 weeks with that, and I was fully back on foot, but I couldn't run well. So it was just nursing back, trying to get back to running normal. So then, total-wise, it was a long time, but helped me become better, so that was good.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of becoming better, one area especially that sure shows the weight room this year. Normally somebody, and especially in that situation, would have a big dip in the weight room. Talk about your weight room numbers and how you overcame that. That's such a cool story.
So I went to a weight room, and ever since I was a freshman, I didn't really lift as hard, so I wasn't like lifting much. And then I got hurt, so I was just kind of like, it was my senior year. I was like, last year I gotta go put everything out and get my heart out. So I went and I was like, I can't do any legs, so I just went with my bench all the time. So I tried to do that like 4 days a week, and then I did that. So then I was like 225, and I started getting a little bit better. But over the 7 weeks, I just saw a complete jump. I was like, man, like, it just feels good to be doing that. And I went from 225 to 290, so I was good with that. But then after I got my leg back to nurse to health, I was just trying to maybe try to get my legs back to strength. So I was just always trying to do I went to therapy, so I do leg stuff. I was always doing like single leg hops, just trying to get that angle back to being loose and making sure it wasn't just stable and not getting too tight. So that's pretty much what we did.
And how did it feel when you got to step on and actually practice in pads again?
I mean, the first time I went out in the field, I got to throw a football. I mean, I didn't throw very well that day, but it was just a surreal moment. I mean, just coming out, it was kind of like, okay, like I never felt this, and it was like, man, you're thankful to be on the field, just being back on the field. So I was like, okay, like I'm just so happy to be on the field, back with my teammates, because I mean, we got a great team this year, so I'm just excited for this. So.
Yes, and talk about your summer with the team and how the guys have been gelling. 'Cause at this point, you're ranked. I mean, many polls have you guys ranked as #1.
So I mean, it's a great team. Our line's gonna be great this year. We'll be young, but I'm really excited for it. I like them all. And then just the running back corps, I mean, it's just unbelievable. We got 2 kids that are going D1, another kid's getting looked at D1. So I mean, it's just all the running backs you putting anybody, they're all going to get yards, so it's unbelievable. And then you got wide receivers. I mean, 2 outside guys are unbelievable. You got Perkins and then Harris Pittman, so just excited for them to be on the field this year with me. And then you got Landon Wilson at F, Sean Terry, you got all them. You just have all the Ys, and I mean, all the quarterbacks. I mean, quarterbacks are pushing, so I mean, we're all pushing each other. It's no job is set right now. I mean, everybody's fighting for a position, so that's the good news. It's kind of like competition, so I'm liking that a lot, so.
Yes, and one thing and you mentioned, of course, with playing quarterback. We talked about your amazing recovery from the injury you had, but talk about your hearing, because something I don't think a lot of people know is about your ears, and that could be and I believe you wear an aid, if I'm correct, for hearing. Okay, an implant. Wow, talk about that and how you're able to overcome. And I mean, in a very short time last year, you threw for 13 touchdowns, and you definitely have the respect and admiration of your teammates, which shows.
I mean, just when I was younger, I lost my hearing when I was like 2.5, and so then I was born, and then I got surgery when I was like 4. I had a cochlear implant, but it was just kind of like that process of like pushing through, and that's what helped me with my injuries, because I was born deaf, so I was like, you can't just let something define you. So being with the injuries, that's like pushing overcome. But I mean, I had everybody with me, like my family, and they helped me all the time. If I didn't say a word right, I was like, they were getting on me and they were helping me, which I mean, I didn't like, but at the end of the day, it helped me a lot to become a better speaker, because then at the end, when you get on the field and you play quarterback, you can't mess up words, and you gotta make sure your team's all on the same page. So I was just glad that they did that. I mean, my teammates, they help me all the time. Like if we're in school and I don't hear something, they'll all help me. So it's just like, well, it's together, so it's a family. So I mean, it's just, we all love each other, so it's just a great part of being on this team. So.
And talk about one thing that you succeed in addition to on the field. Talk about academics and the importance of that as and being an athlete, because it's something that we talked about your on the field play, but that's really stood out with you as well.
I mean, on this team, we always speak, and the coaches speak all the time. We're student athletes, so we got to take student first and become pride in the schoolwork. So, I mean, I just make sure I'm always doing well in my schoolwork. I try to do the best I can, and it's hard to juggle because you got football and you got school, so it's not easy to do, but if you study and you do your homework and everything, I mean, you do well. So that's the good part about being in school. So.
And now for the fan base to get to know you better personally. First off, speaking of fan base, talk about the community of Ironton and what it's like to be a Fighting Tiger.
So my sophomore year, we played here first year, and it was a COVID year. So we were playing against all these teams, and you didn't have many fans, so it's kind of like it was sad because you're like, not everybody's here, so it was like the community felt horrible that they weren't. But then once we got to the next year, we played against Berg, and then we had everybody here. So it's just like the community loves it. I mean, they all come and they support us. It's such a surreal moment because your community's like, this town is all that lives for football, and that's all they live for. So I mean, each game at home, you probably got at least 8,000 to 10,000. I mean, it's just so much. The stands fill up. So before a game, you look up there, it's just like, I don't even look up there in the games because I'm like, it's just so many people. But before the game, I look, I'm just like, it's a lot. So. It's just cool because it looks like it doesn't even look like a high school really. It's just such a big crowd, so that's a cool moment.
It does have that kind of college type
Yeah.
atmosphere. And speaking of college, going on to I know it's hard. Time's flown so fast. You're a senior now, and I know a lot of kids at your point, myself included, at that age, don't exactly know what they want to do yet. Have you thought about? Is there a particular interest or major that you have?
So really, I was thinking about doing something in the medical field. So wherever I'd like to go in college, I just like to either do occupational therapy or a physical therapist. So just something there. I actually went to therapy, and I didn't want to be a physical therapy at all. And so when I was there for like the 8 weeks, I was kind of like, man, it's cool because you get to hang out with people, you help others. So I just love that part, being able to help others. So I was like, I like this a lot, and it kind of came on my mind. It was the first one that I wanted to do as my career, so I was like, kind of like it a lot. So I'm hoping to do that when I get older.
Mm-hmm. And talk about some of your hobbies and some of the things that you like to do. Well, you stay pretty darn busy with school and football. What are some things maybe that somebody doesn't know about you, or maybe that is something you like to do in your spare time?
I mean, this summer really, a lot of my hobbies is I love playing pickleball with some team players. We'll play pickleball all the time. I love golf. All the teammates will play golf together, and it's just I like those two a lot. Other hobbies, I mean, I don't really. Those two are my main ones I like to do a lot. If I play pickleball, I go with my family or the teammates. But usually every day, if I'm not doing something, I either do pickleball or golf. So those are my two favorite hobbies I like to do every day.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about. I remember we played pickleball some in gym my freshman year, but I can't remember much about it. What do you do like with pickleball?
I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's like a racket. It's kind of like a square racket, but it's kind of small tennis court. And then I guess there's like a spot you can't be in. It's called the kitchen, but if the ball bounces in it, you can hit it. But it's kind of like ping pong almost, playing with it. So it's a fun game. It's kind of like you're the small person on the big ping pong table. So I like doing that, but it was a fun game. First time I played it, I didn't love it, and then after a while I started getting a hang of it. I was like, this is really fun. I like it a lot more.
That's awesome. And talk about your. I know one thing that you've talked about is your faith in Christ, and talk about that and what it means to you and how you share it with people.
So I was born in a family that I was born to it. My dad's actually a preacher at C3, so we just go there every Sunday. I try to live the best I can in my life to be with Jesus Christ, and I mean, everything I do is for Him too on the football field. So I just make sure I do that, because at the end of the day, He's the reason we're all here. So that's my, and then I mean, it's just I always like try to get some of the teammates to come with me to church. So I always do that, and then I just try to make sure, because some people may not know about it. So I just try to put the faith into it. But that's really what I just like to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and lastly, Tayden, or maybe any message for the community, or any shout outs, or anyone you wanna give a shout out to?
I mean, really, just the whole team. Give a shout out for everything they've done this whole time I was here. I mean, every year I played with a different team. It was just they all accepted me. And I just want to give a shout out to all the coaches. What they've all trusted me and did everything. And then also my family my whole life, because I mean, we've all been through a lot. And I've been through so many injuries. It sucks for them that they've had to see that, because I ain't want them to see that. But then just lastly, go Tigers, I guess.
Yes. All right, Tayden Carpenter, the senior quarterback for the Ironton Fighting Tigers, and stay tuned. We'll see plenty of action from this team this year, as they're coming in ranked #1 in their division in Ohio. And we thank you for tuning in today. I'm Tyler Rowland. You're watching Rowland Sports, where you meet the athletes.